Hey, lovelies. I just wanted to do a quick summary message for you around human design. So I got a question from Claudia, and it was about one of my meditation drawings or one of my sessions that I'd done with somebody about the channels and gates. And I actually realized that if you're not aware of or don't understand the human design system, some of the content on my channel might be difficult to understand. So in response to Claudia, I'm going to do a little email, and a little hey, lovelies. I wanted to do a response to a question that I had to one of my videos, which was about the channel 3420 in human design. And somebody asked, what's a channel? Where are these numbers coming from? And I realized that I work with people often who are aware of human design. And yet some people coming to this YouTube channel might not understand the basics of human design. And so I thought I'd do a short video to summarize the human design system so you can start getting a feel for it. And when you get a feel for it, you can then start playing around with and adapting what you're aware of, so that you can actually tune into the energies of what's going on. And I'd say this will end up being a couple of videos, to be honest with you, but let's go back to the absolute basics. So thank you, Claudia, for asking that question, because I think it's really important that we understand the foundation of the human design system. Because with that, then we can observe that energy and use that energy in our lives, so we get to understand ourselves better. So I am a self-care artist. So I use creativity as a means of understanding myself better, understanding my clients better. And I have a variety of tools, and creativity is one of them. But I also use embodiment practices so that people can get a really good felt sense of who they are. And another tool that I use is human design, because I find it gives such a good bouncing off place. It really gives you a sense of who you are and perhaps what drives you and motivates you, and allows you to experiment with that information so that you can figure out what's best for you. Because if we're trying to look after ourselves, if we're trying to love ourselves, if we're trying to understand ourselves, then all the tools that we can use to do that help us to be more compassionate to ourselves, to love ourselves more, and help us to navigate this craziness called life and being a person in this world today of constant flux and change. So let's go back to the basics. So I'm just going to share my screen here, and we're going to come up where I'm going to show you what a human design chart is, because until you see it, it's difficult to grasp with. Okay, so human design was a system that came to a man called Ra Uru Hu back in the late 80s. And he received information about, from my perspective, and this is from my perspective, and in another video, I'll give you a load of resources and a load of people who have been part of human design for a very long time. And they will give you some of the structures and building blocks of the human design system. But from my perspective, Ra Uru Hu was given this information, and this information was about bringing together some of the knowledge that we have accumulated over millennia of being humans on this planet, and put it together in a new way, so that we could understand ourselves even more than we understood ourselves before. So it combines a number of different areas, and I'm going to go through those areas now. So I hope you can see this, but you'll see around here the signs of the zodiac. And so there is a use of astrology. So astrology is one of the cornerstones of human design. And we look at the planets, and when your chart is devised, we look at where the planets were at the time of your birth. So the exact location of the planets, which is what astrology does. Now, where human design comes in is it actually gives you another chart, which is a chart that was 88 degrees before you were born, or 3 months before you were born. And so it actually brings together two elements of those charts, brings together those charts and creates what's called your human design chart. So you'll see here exactly where the planets were at the time of my birth. And that then highlights particular gates. Okay, so now we're coming to gates. So gates in human design, you can see as this 1 to 64 numbers around the wheel of the zodiac. And these numbers are hexagrams from the I Ching. So the I Ching is a second kind of cornerstone of human design. And obviously the Chinese devised and have used the I Ching for so many years. And what happens with human design is it brings together the information on each hexagram of the I Ching. There's 64 of them, 64 codons in our DNA, 64 hexagrams in the I Ching. And it looks at all of these different personal traits and stories that we carry as humankind within us. And so rather than just say something is in Capricorn, which is what an astrologer will do, in human design, we begin to narrow that focus down and believe that there are a specific set of energies within Capricorn, and that those are the hexagrams of the I Ching. And you'll actually see above each number is its original hexagram. So a hexagram is a combination of 3 and 3 to come together to form 6. And it's a combination of yin and yang lines. So each gate is in a zodiac sign, and each gate has a very specific energy. So I'm going to look here at the 58, and the 58 is actually my personality sun. So the sun was in this gate and in this sign when I was born, or 88 degrees before I was born. And so here we have the 58 down here in the root center, and that becomes defined. Okay. Also, human design is based on an ancient teaching called Kabbalah. And Kabbalah is all about this journey through life, but it's based on energy flowing through channels throughout the body. So the third cornerstone is you'll see all of these channels moving around, energy moving throughout the body. So what human design does is it brings all of these elements together and puts them together in a way that has never been seen before. So Ra translated all of this information that he gathered, and he put together the human design chart. So the human design chart is made up of 9 centers. And each of these centers has the gates here of the I Ching put together in a very particular way. So you'll see here, the head center has 3 gates, the 64, the 61, and the 63. And between the head and the Ajna center are channels. And what we have in human design is the flow of energy throughout the body. And when we're born, and 88 degrees before we're born, some of these channels become defined. And when they're defined, they become a reliable, definite source of energy or way of being for us throughout our life. So our definition, and as you can see here, I have gates that come together, and when they're both defined, they form a channel. And you have these flows of energy that are defined in my charts. You can see a very particular flow of energy that I have. And these are called areas of definition. So these centers are defined or they're undefined. And when they're undefined, they don't have a gate defined that's connected to another gate in another channel, but they might have these things called hanging gates where the energy is defined in that center, but it's not connected to another source of energy. So when Claudia asked about what are these numbers and what are these channels, we have the gates of the individual center, we have the center, and we have the centers connected to each other. So this is the basic foundation of human design. And just to add, and I'll keep this short for now, and then if you would like more information, I will go into it. These are the 9 centers. So the human design system believes that we're evolving, and we came from being a 7-centered being, and we're evolving and have evolved into a 9-centered being. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes next, but we're constantly evolving the more we experience life and existence, human beings on the planet. We're learning more, we're taking in more experiences, we're understanding more. So here are the 9 centers of the human design system. So I'll start at the top. So this is the head center. And this is where we receive inspiration from above. Inspiration about knowing that just suddenly drops into our awareness, an inspiration. And this may come from seeing a pattern, or it may come from digesting your experience to come up with a realization. So here these inspirations are in the head center. They then move down to the Ajna center, which is this center here. And this center processes those inspirations and actually categorizes them, questions them, wonders about them, gets information about them. And so that's the role. It's all very well having these inspirations, but how do we make it tangible? And one of the reasons we want to make it tangible is that we can then express that and share our stories, share our experiences, so that we can connect to others and so that we can teach others about aspects of our lives so they may gain something for their life. And this comes down to the throat. So the throat is where we express, and we may express our thinking, we may express our intuition, we may express how we feel, we may express the direction that we want to go in. This is a vehicle for expression. So that's these 3 centers. Then underneath this is what we call the G center. And the G center is like an identity center, but it's about kind of knowing and understanding who you are. And when you have a defined G center, you have a fairly good idea. You're fairly consistently you. If you have an open G center, you can be a bit of a chameleon. You can go from group to group and feel that you belong in some places and you don't belong in others, but you can change your coat to suit different circumstances. And this really is about our direction in life and our love of life. Then we move down to what's called the ego, or the heart center. And the ego and heart center is the will and commitment that we have to do things for our communities, to do things in the communities that we're in. If the ego is undefined, it means that it can be difficult for us to commit to certain things because we're not necessarily maybe sure of the resources that we have or the resources that may exist in order to allow for things to happen. If we have it defined, we have a very set way of contributing to our community. Down here is called the solar plex, or emotional center. And this is really about how we experience our emotions, how we sense and feel and interpret these emotions. And for people who have that defined or colored in, they have a very particular set way of moving through the world by tuning into their emotions and feeling out situations and which direction their feelings are moving in. For those with open solar plexus, I have an open emotional, undefined emotional center. So I get to take in other people's emotions around me and filter them so that I can understand and read a room and feel where people are. Next to that is the sacral center. The sacral center is really the energetic kind of powerhouse. It gives us the energy to go through our day, to have the energy to do what we need to do what we've committed to do the work that we love, to meet people and relate to people. So this is all very much kind of fueled by the sacral center. And if you have that defined, you have a fairly consistent energetic way of being. If you have that undefined, you have a less consistent energy source. We'll move over to the spleen. The spleen is our intuitive center. It is really about having the intuition, a consistent intuition, if you have it defined, like I have, a consistent intuition about what's necessary or needed in a given moment to stay healthy, to stay alive, to stay aware. If you have that undefined, it's a little bit less easy to connect into that sense of what's healthy for you right now, but you might be really open to what may be healthy for other people. And then we go down to the root center. So the root center is like our adrenaline. You see, it's connected to the sacral center above it. It provides the adrenaline. It provides the movement. I often feel my root get up out of the chair. It's like this drive that we have. And it moves us into the doing of the sacral. It gives us the impulse that we need to become aware, or the impulse that we need to emote. So there you have a really basic overview of human design and the human design chart. There's so much more to it. But when I'm doing my meditation drawings, I am tuning in to a particular energy that the sun is going through at that particular time. And the sun is quite a powerful force. Even look at it in the sky. It's this huge energetic force that provides a backdrop to where we are on a given day. So the sun is currently in gate 18, which is down here in the spleen center. And in the next few days, I'll be doing a meditation drawing on how does the 18 feel for you? Are you noticing it? Are you noticing things coming up in conversations, or are you feeling driven to do things? This morning I woke up and I cleaned all the windows because they weren't clean enough. And that's what the 18 is about. It's about correcting things that may not be correct, or things that you want to see a change in. And when I talk about channels, which I did in my previous YouTube video, I talked about the 3420, which is a channel of energy that moves from the sacral up to the throat. And the woman that I talked about had that defined. So I hope this is a useful introduction. If you like this, please like it and subscribe it if you found this useful. I'll post below my website page that gives you a basic kind of understanding of the human design. And also I have a range of meditation drawings that allow us to tune into these particular energies. And I also have a meditation drawing circle that meets weekly on a Monday evening, where we get to tune into those energies and we get to draw and doodle our way so that we can really see them from a totally different perspective and feel them from a very different place. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon.